What are some interesting or fun Christmas traditions you follow? My best friend and I started a tradition of celebrating Christmas Eve together. Actual day is a little loose on interpreting based on life. We switch it up each year, but we always dress up in Christmas outfits, have dinner, some kind of activity, and a movie. At dinner, we also exchange a book we picked for the other that we wrote a personal note inside. Then afterwards, we create a magnet for each other of our favorite photo from the night. My family has a tradition of leaving riddles on cards and guessing what the gift is before opening. We go around one by one, reading our hint out loud so everyone can guess, then open it and show the room. Ends up taking like 5 hours for everyone to get through their gifts, but it's always a fun time. Every year, my wife and I buy an ornament for our tree that corresponds with something that happened that year. So we have a tree filled with all of these weird, wacky ornaments, like a tennis ball. We started playing tennis that year. Swedish Chef Europe trip, ship Captain Nutcracker, our first cruise, amongst many others. It's such a fun tradition in December to debate what we to get and then finding something, and then reliving them all when we put them up. Every Christmas, the kids in the house have wrapping paper put over the entrances to their rooms, so they get to rip through it in the morning. It originally started as a way to keep a certain kid in when he kept coming out early and opening presents before everyone was awake. 28 years ago, I was one of the first 100 customers at an HEB grand opening. For that honor, I got 2 cans of this. That Christmas, we had a fun dollar store white elephant exchange with the family Christmas Eve. I wrapped a can of the potted meat as my contribution. My mom got it and got a real kick out of it. She immediately re-gifted it to me the next day. Well, next year, I wrapped it and gave it to my sister. The year after that, she wrapped it and gave it to my dad. For the last 28 years, this has been the most coveted gift of Christmas. I gave it to my son last year, and he happily wrapped it for his cousin this Christmas. My grandpa would always get up on the roof about an hour after our bedtime and stomp around on the roof with sleigh bells. Each year, we cut a round off the bottom of our Christmas tree. We label it with the year. Over time, it makes a sweet display reminder of years past. We have signs all over our house spelling out Leon instead of Noel. It started out as a joke because my dad is dyslexic, but it stuck. And we even named our dog Leon. And we've been doing it since I can remember. Every year for the last 8 years, my sister and I gift each other a weird thing that makes the other one laugh. It started with when our house almost got repossessed just before Christmas, and everything was so terrible that we just wanted to make each other laugh. Highlights include 12 packs of frozen potato, smiley faces to resolve a long-forgotten childhood argument, 3 chocolate tubes filled with tinny rubber ducks instead of chocolate, a lucky dip, which involved hiding small gifts in socks, and this year, bag of potatoes with Nicolas Cage's face blue tacked on every individual potato. My brother and I stay at my mother's house on Christmas Eve with our families every year. We still sit at the top of the stairs on Christmas morning until my mother tells us we can come down to the living room to see what Santa left us. We're both in our 30s, and our wives and kids now sit on the stairs as well. It's getting pretty crowded, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Every year, my family buys each other member a gag or joke or small gift, then writes a poem about it for the recipient to read on Christmas Eve. It's probably the highlight of the entire season for me, as it's always filled with laughter at how terrible we all are at poetry. No matter how old we all get, this is a really fun way to bring everyone back to that root joy of spending time together. This year, it will be virtual, but still fun. My parents were broke when I was a kid, but you'd never know it from Christmas. They always went all out, put money on credit cards, etc. One Christmas, we were particularly broke, but Dad went out and spent probably most of his paycheck on last-minute gifts. When we got home, my mom had been with us all day, and since there was no money, she hadn't gone food shopping. All we had were some cheap hot dogs and canned beans. My parents put the beans in a pot over the fire, grabbed the hot dog cooker from when we went camping, and threw the dogs on over the fire too. My sister and I loved it so much. We did it again the following Christmas. Eventually, we weren't quite so poor. The $2 amp hot dogs became Nathan's, then Sabrit's, then Butcher Bratwursts. The beans went to BM, then eventually fancy gourmet tea. But my sister and I are now adults with our own families, and even on years where we're not together, our entire family has hot dogs and beans on Christmas Eve. My uncle always hosts Christmas at his house since family comes from all over, and he has beds for everyone to stay over. On his property is about an 150-foot diameter pond. Every Christmas morning, we wake up and build a giant bonfire to get ready for the impending shock we will feel later on around noon. We also try to get a decent drunk blanket going for those that are of our family's required drinking age, just in case. Come noon on Christmas Day, we do the polar plunge to rid ourselves of last year's crap and look forward to next year. We huddle around this bonfire while my grandpa passes around shots to help warm up because that pond is fucking freezing. A buffet for 10. For 2. So my wife and I spend the days leading up to Christmas Eve going around and buying a selection of the poshest party food from the likes of M&S, Booths, Waitrose. On Christmas Eve, we will bathe the kids 10 and 5 play board games with them, watch movies etc. It's bed for 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. for them both. The oven then goes on. 30-40 minutes later, we have enough food to feed at least 10. But it's just for the two of us, and we always do pretty well, and are stuffed by 11:30 p.m. A few glasses of wine or G&Ts keep the merriment going. We arrange the gifts at around 1 a.m., and it's off to bed. Excited ourselves. We usually end up discussing what food was our favorite, and my wife makes a note to buy again the following year. Apart from seeing the kids' faces on Xmas morning, this is by far my favorite part of Xmas. I hope everyone has a good one this year and is able to fill their bellies and enjoy the company of those you love. The tradition in our house was whatever you got for Christmas, you had to wear it to the pub at lunchtime on Christmas Day. I've been to the pub in PJs, 4 pairs of socks, running vest and shorts, etc. etc. Each year for Christmas, instead of writing our real names on the presents, my parents would take a random theme and assign my siblings and I a name based on said theme. For example, this year's theme is liquor, and the names are Scotch, whiskey, and gin. And we have to guess who is what name. Whoever guesses correctly gets a little homemade Christmas-themed trophy called the Christmas Smartest Award that they can keep until next Christmas. A tradition we had when I was a child, and one I'll be continuing with my children when I have them, is the Christmas Eve box. For Christmas Eve, we were given one gift early, and it was a box with Christmas pajamas, a mug, hot chocolate mix, popcorn, and a Christmas movie. We would get to open it around lunchtime, and we'd spend the rest of the evening in our new jammies having cocoa and movies together. Oh, my gosh, I love this. When we were younger, my parents had a tradition with us. We would always go out into the front yard with my dad to find the perfect pine cone. Maybe a week or 2 before Christmas, we planted the pine cone in a pot and watered it. Then overnight it would become this magnificent, huge to my young eyes, and fully decorated Christmas tree. It only worked in December, and we were always told it was the Christmas magic. Then my sister and I figured it out when we found pine needles in my parents' car, haha. On Christmas Eve, we're each given a present early. It's always pajamas, and once everyone has opened their present, the pajama races begin. Everyone runs to their respective rooms and puts on their pajamas, then races back to the tree. There is no prize for the winner except bragging rights. Then there is a final present that has been wrapped multiple times with a ton of tape. We all stand around the kitchen table and attempt to unwrap it one at a time, except you have to put on mittens and a Santa hat before attempting to unwrap it. The person to your left is rolling dice, and if they get doubles, then you stop trying to unwrap it and pass the mittens and hat to them so they can try. This game becomes very loud and fast, so you need to keep on your toes. It keeps going around in a circle until someone is successful. The gift is always a board or card or dice game, and we play the game until it's time to go to bed. My siblings and I are all grown now, but we'll probably continue to play this with our parents until we have spouses to bring home, then make them play as well.